All right, the meeting's being recorded, folks. Let's see if anybody else joined. Got 8 people total. No, 7 people. Sweet. Let's kick it off. We're 2 minutes over already. Already behind schedule. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. This is, I think, the fourth or fifth. I've lost count. We've done so many at this point, but. So the purpose of this meeting, again, to build the community, talk about growth strategies, and do some knowledge sharing. This is a very healthy, positive community. That's the message I'd like to keep drilling into everybody, that we're here to help, here to be positive and solve problems. And we got a big thing coming with setting the gold standard, right, Marco? We're on board with that.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. So I like to kick it off with a quote, and this is from Jeff. I think his name is Weiner or Weiner, and he's the CEO of LinkedIn. So I am going to be doing a little bit of LinkedIn stuff because people are kind of catching on and getting on board with that. But he says you have to maintain a culture of transformation and stay true to your values. So with Low Voltage Nation, we're constantly making improvements. That's a big thing. I want to get better at doing podcasts, better at running meetings, better at installing stuff, and better at helping other people. And again, the core values are positivity, inclusiveness, knowledge sharing, and charity and service work. So always want to stay true to those core values and just keep marching down that path wherever we can. Housekeeping items, I press record. Keep your phone on mute if you're hiking or riding around on a motorcycle. Please keep it on mute. And I will have the Slack Ambassador channel open if anybody wants to drop in some questions there or just interact on that level. Organizers, I think, so Marco, you put a bunch of stuff for Intercoms, so I really appreciate that. I do want to, because I don't have much experience with Intercoms. I've done a couple A phones here and there, but I'll probably lean on you quite a bit to talk about it. Sweet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then we always keep this LBN shirts at the top of the housekeeping items, which is good. I think today's the deadline, isn't it, for logo submission?
I think we did set it for today.
Yeah. So,
and I'll check to see if I missed anybody. I know that I got a couple. I think a couple ads into the folder, so I think we should just probably finalize it, this week, and just say here it is, and whoever wants them, we get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and we can do a group buy where we log in and select the size and pay for it.
Yep, absolutely.
I've never done this before, so that's pretty cool. Sweet. Yeah, so everybody get your logos in, send it to Marco, or else you won't get a logo on the shirt. But you can still get a shirt, but your logo won't be on it. But definitely get that.
You'll be logoless.
Logoless. That's just, man, I'm just beside myself that you did that, man. I think it's awesome. I don't know where you find the time to interact on Slack and do shirts and all the stuff that you do and run a business.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know what they say, right? You do what you want to do. You make time for what you want to have time for. That's what I always say.
It's so true, man. If it's important, you'll do it. Firm believer. Cool. All right. Previous action items. Always like to remind people, continue to follow the ambassadors. If you go to the Slack channel, we have 27 people in the ambassador group. And you can just go there, just kind of look at everybody, try and follow them on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. We're trying to help build their following and just, keep interacting with them, liking their stuff, engaging with their stuff, and helping them, get better at what they do and grow their business. So with that being said, today's meeting is about Intercoms, and then I'll do a little LinkedIn discussion. I want to just kind of show you guys what I do with my consultation stuff on the side. And yeah, so with Intercoms, I've only installed just a handful. I've done some A phone and some Grand Stream integration at a fiberglass facility. I got it to work. It was pretty simple. It was SIP stuff, just kind of doing access control integration where it unlocks a gate. Pretty just basic stuff, I guess. That's my experience, but I want to kick it over to Marco and see what he's doing on the commercial and residential side. So Marco, take it away, man.
Sure. So, there's a lot out there, right? I mean, you go with I would say the most consumer known. You got your Nest, you got your, your Simply Safe, and your Rings mostly for the commercial. I mean, the residential side. But what a lot of people don't understand is that there's a lot of other manufacturers that do similar things, just better. So, when you think about intercoms, you have, when I used to think about them anyway, it used to be, all right, I have a master station downstairs, and then the 6 units, everything's hardwired. And a lot of people still think like that. But what's cool is now you have the new ones that everyone, is so technologically aware that you have all of these now, what I would say cloud-based. So on the multi-tenant side, a lot of people are going to the cloud-based system because it gives you all these other features. I don't know anybody that, at least in today's world, regardless of age, who doesn't know what Amazon is or doesn't use Amazon. And one of the biggest features that we have seen on the multi-tenant / commercial side is nobody's home during the day, and these packages get delivered all day long. So what's cool with these cloud-based systems is that you can give Amazon or any other delivery company access to the system with a PIN code, and you can see who was there. They can call you if you have a delivery. They can use the PIN code. So it's very intuitive in one sense, and you don't have to be home to use it. So that's kind of cool with more of the cloud systems. And there's a bunch of them. I mean, you still have some of the old school, just straight up dial tone ones where they are just that, right? It'll act like a phone call, and you get a phone call. Hey, this is UPS. I got a package. You press 9 and they're in. But it's very rare that we see now the local hardwired ones, whether it's a phone or a Comlet. I mean, there's probably realistically 10 of them off the top of my head that I can think of that do similar things. And I would say probably on the multi-tenant side, there's a handful of options like we were just discussing, but there's also where we integrate with schools and municipalities, and they want to have, like you were saying, Blake, you did an A phone with a Grandstream phone. So I'm assuming you probably did the IP-based system, and then the intercom called the front desk on the Grandstream phone. Is that the way it was set up?
Yeah. Well, so a truck would come up to the A phone, and then they press the button, and then that will send in a message to the Grandstream phone at the guard station or like over on the production line at the fiberglass facility. So it was triggering an event that would hit a Grandstream phone, and they could see the person on the Grandstream phone through the console or like the screen, and then they could let them in and open the gate. And it was all IP. Yeah, it was all IP based stuff through SIP.
Yeah.
There was no SIP server. It was just like kind of like a peer to peer scenario. There's only a handful. There's only two Grandstream phones and then 2 A phones.
Yeah. So it's a simple setup, and to kind of expand on that, right? So we also do hosted PBX or cloud PBX, however you want to phrase it, and we do a lot of access camera integration, and we do a lot of access sales. So what's cool is we'll take, if we manage everything, right? We have the PBX, we have the surveillance system, access control, and the intercom setup. We can integrate everything into almost like a seamless platform for the client. So for example, this one school that I'm thinking of, we have the PBX system, right, which we typically have Polycom phones. So we manage that. We have the network, the surveillance, and the access control all managed. And they said, well, hey, we want a doorbell at the front door, and the school's on the 3rd floor, and obviously the entrance would be on the ground floor. And they said, well, we don't have any way to really release that door other than going into the access control system and just releasing it, and all we can do is see who's downstairs, but we can't interact.
Right.
So what we did was we took one of the access intercom devices, right, which is SIP based. It also has a camera in it, and as most of you guys know, Access has on-VIF profiles. We took that, integrated it into the access control, into the PBX system, and into the surveillance system. And what it does is we set it so when you ring the bell, it calls a group of phones, whatever the school wants, And it also, when they pick up the phone, because they have the certain series of VVX polycoms, they can get the image of that person downstairs. And it's almost like, it's not a panoramic, but it's like an ultra wide corridor view, as I would say. And the whole interaction is recorded because it's all going back to the surveillance system. And then all they say is, all right, I'm here to pick up so-and-so. It trips the push bar on the door and they're in. So it's really cool to see how it can really get with all this stuff, as well as how simplistic the.
Yeah. How are you doing a lot of residential, and how are you like combating like the DIY market stuff? Is that a problem for you?
So what I always say is, it's funny. I had a customer, we just did one not too long ago, last week, where we did kind of everything, right? We replaced a whole bunch of systems that were there, and a brand new house, but the builder went in kind of low budget. So we replaced the alarm and whatnot. And he also said to me, the homeowner, he goes, well, I'd like to change the doorbell because it was just one of those simple, like $15 doorbells with the chime from like Home Depot.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know what I can do with that. I said, well, don't worry about it. So we'll take care of it. So what we did was, instead of using like a Ring or a Nest, we used alarm.com. And he said to me, he's like, well, what's the advantage of using that? I said, well, you have your alarm, you have your thermostats, you have your smoke detectors, everything's integrated to this one app. There's no sense in having to pay for another app and have all this other cost when you can have it all under one roof. And he's like, well, what's the other advantage? I said, well, if you were to do like a Ring or a Nest, you're like $30 a year, right? And you can store X amount of time, and that can be either added to or subtracted to based on what you want to store. And I said, but if something goes wrong, who are you going to call? He goes, well, that's a good point. I said, this way, I said, if you figured it out, if you really wanted to break it down, we could be the same price as Ring. And we store, I think by default, it's 30 days with the doorbell camera. I said, and you have peace of mind. If something happens, you can just give us a call and we're there.
Right.
And if it's something simple, we don't generally, price gouge anybody, right? If it's something simple in a residence, it'll be like maybe an $85 service call, because we have them on the monthly basis as well, and we don't want to tarnish that relationship.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't get is if something goes wrong with like a Simply Safe or a Ring or a Nest, they don't have anybody to call. The manufacturer generally says, well, we can't help you. We can give you this much help, but if the person's not technical, they're not going to know how to check the wiring or see if something's shorted out. So a lot of that gives peace of mind on it, as opposed to just saying, well, I'm going to go to Amazon and order a doorbell.
And I just wanted to kind of touch on what Marco said there about Nest, because I put in a Nest doorbell system, and I put in 2 of them, and that's not really supported by Nest, but I mean, it's like, come on, it works. So I put it in, and plus they didn't want their doorbells to actually ring inside for whatever the reason. So just got it hooked up and working, and we had a Unify Wi-Fi system in there. It was working fine, and I put everything on the 5 gigahertz band, thinking that was the right way to do it. And the one doorbell kept dropping out, and so I called Nest. I'm like, oh, it has interference, and I'm like, okay, well, where's the interference at? He goes, it's Wi-Fi interference. I go, okay, so it's Wi-Fi interference, but like how do you know that? Like, how are you finding that out? And he goes, well, he's like, that's proprietary. It's like, well, how is that proprietary? Like, why can't you just help me on this issue? And so I changed it over to 2.4, and it had the same issue. And I called him, and I called him back, and he was like, it's Wi-Fi interference. It's like, what? Can I get an actual answer besides just like, do they just sit there and have 3 different options and go, okay, it's this problem, or no, it's this issue? And it's like, just pick your shit. What's wrong with the system? I don't know. And so it is. I haven't been a fan of them, but I don't like the Ring doorbells, because we've put a few of those in. We've had a lot more issues with it. So are you using the Sky Bell? Is that what you're using?
Yes. We use they have the slimline version, and then they have the circular one.
Yeah.
And I'm not plugging alarm.com, but it's it's a very simplistic platform. Just yesterday, I mean, I did 3 thermostats I replaced in a house, right? And the customer's like, "Well, how long do you think you're going to be? I got to run out." I said, "I'll probably be 20 minutes." And they kind of look at me like puzzled. They're like, "What?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "This is simple." I said, "This is a piece of cake." And they're like perplexed by it because they're like, "Oh, well, I was looking at these other ones like the Honeywells and this." I said, "Look," I said, "We've done everything you can think of thermostat wise. These systems should not be difficult, especially for the installer. You know, if I come in here and it's taking me 3 hours to put in 3 thermostats, A, someone doesn't know what they're doing, or B, they just are trying to get you for the hours." I said, "Because this stuff is designed to be installed, and you should never have to touch it ever again. You know, if the batteries go, then that's a different story. But batteries go on every thermostat that has a brain to it, you know. But it's a very simple system on the residential side, you know. But getting into, I mean, there's so many manufacturers out there, you know. The biggest ones I feel like are, at least in our territory, is iPhone, Door King, which is still around, Butterfly MX, which we're a dealer for, which they're kind of in their own world, right? And Comlet. Those are like the 4 biggest ones currently, and we still get people that say, "Oh, well, you know, we don't want to pay monthly or annually for the Butterfly MX system." And I'm like, "Okay, so you want to do?" They're like, "We'll go with Door King." And I go, "Why do you want to go with Door King?" And they said, "Well, it's cheaper." I said, "Cheaper how?" "Because you're paying almost the same price for the Door King panel that you would with a Butterfly, and you have probably 50% less feature set than you would with a Butterfly panel." So it's people's mindsets are still kind of stuck in certain ways if they know about something. And then if you start explaining to them the feature sets of what you can do with these other systems, it just kind of makes most of them interested, right? Even if it's a small building, you don't have to go with something you have to pay for, but you can go with a simple new Comlet system, which is a lot less expensive than an iPhone. But iPhone also has the market share because they've been around so long and they're very good at what they do 80% of the time.
Marco, who do you recommend? Which manufacturer do you recommend for a commercial? Is it application specific, or is it features? Like what? Who do you recommend? Because I've experienced pretty bad tech support with Door King. I've never done any Butterfly stuff, but I've just come across just random things here and there that it's really hard to service as well as get a hold.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, I like Door King for what they do, right? We do a lot of their gate products, whether it's rolling gates or gate arms. It's a robust product. They've been around since the early 80s, and it's almost like the stuff has never changed. And it depends, like you're saying, it is a little bit application dependent. On the multi-tenant side, we always try to push Butterfly because it's very intuitive. You can have a two-way conversation. You can see who's there. It logs everything. I mean, it's almost not bulletproof in a sense because the software is kind of like it works and it doesn't work. But feature set wise, you just can't beat it. If there's someone that's maybe going for something a little bit more cost efficient, I would say like a Comlet or a Linear, but Linear is kind of phasing out of the telephone entry system market. They were coming out with a nice new cloud-based one like 3 years ago. And, I spoke to my sales rep about that a while back, and he's like, "Oh, we're coming out with a new one." So it depends on what these companies think their, I guess, most profitable market or vertical really is. But our go-to generally on the commercial or multi-tenant high-rise side is Butterfly and Door King. If you're doing something like I was saying earlier with the school or municipality and we have access to the PBX system, then I would do like an access system or an access door station because there's no other software you have to run, and it's just plug in, hook it up, and it does what it needs to do.
Gotcha.
and it's simple. You know, I mean, nothing access is cheap, but for let's say $800 and no monthly cost, you really can't go wrong with that.
Have you used the just to go back to this, have you used the Paxton entry control system before? We put one of those in, and I was very happy with it. It can do SIP integration. They have 3 different styles of panels that you can get. You can like select different users from their touch panel interface that they have.
Is that their Net 2? It's real long and narrow.
Yeah, the Net 2 entry system.
I haven't personally done it. I have seen it. I don't know what the experience is of it. I mean, the interface looks like it's okay. You're saying it worked out well for you, Mason?
Yeah, it worked. We put it in at a factory for a gate. So we have 2 of them on a. We have 2. They're just their standard plastic ones. They make a vandal resistant and then one with the touch screen. And so we have 2 of those. One at like car truck height, and then the other one's at a semi truck height. And basically, the only thing on that is a RJ45 plug. So you plug it in. It's PoE, and it has a camera built into it. And then you plug that. Take those back to either a network switch or their entry panel. And that entry panel basically has one of their Net 2 controller units on it, and then you can tie that into a gate or to whatever you want. So we just have one of those Net 2 control units, and we tell it in the software, okay, hey, tie these 2 entry panels to this door controller. And then when a phone is picked up inside and they press the open the gate button, basically, it triggers relay 1 and opens the gate. And that's pretty much all there was to it. There's no monthly fees associated to it. That customer doesn't have like a, I can't think of the name right now, but they have an analog phone system, so we weren't able to do any SIP integration. And
is there a mobile app for it or no?
Yes, yep. There's a mobile app. You have to have the Paxton Net 2 Pro software, but you can open a gate from there. You can set PIN codes with it on the mobile app. And it's been that system, we've never had an issue since we put it in. And you can also then tie in a long range reader, which we did have issues with, but I got it to work. And then they can just have a little fob they just press on that long range reader, and it lets them in. So I don't know where that sits with other cost. One of those panels costs about $800, and then they go up from there. I think the touch panel one costs about $1,500, but it's been pretty much bulletproof. I've never had to go fix anything with it. So,
right. Yeah, it's a different. It's definitely different integration because do you need the Paxton access control system to make it function?
I believe we've never put it in without it, but I believe you can. From my understanding, you can do it standalone. The Net 2 obviously makes it a little bit easier, but I believe you can do it all in standalone mode if you need to.
Cool. Yeah. I honestly have not seen a lot of Paxton stuff in the field.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because they don't have an aggressive marketing campaign or if they're just they kind of let the dealers run with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the concept seems to be very good. And a lot of times the system seems to be pretty robust. It's just, I guess it just depends on what you're looking to do.
My biggest gripe with that is when we were in training, they said that camera had on-viv profile support for Profile S, and then we installed it, and I was like, all right, great, we'll just plug this into OpenEye, and that will be such a great seamless integration for us. And turns out that the only way you can pull that is if you have a SIP server. And I don't know if Blake, if you want to help me on this, but I have no idea how to do that. I spent maybe a half hour just kind of digging around online, and I couldn't think of any way to actually get that to work. But they said if you have a SIP server, you can pull the video off that and then push that in via an RTSP stream. So
sounds like a lot of work.
It will be a lot of work.
Yeah, especially if you got to do like an asterisk or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Asterisks or some sort of
free PBX or something, right?
nice. Yeah.
That's my biggest gripe with it. So now we'll just spec basically a camera there if we need to, and I'll have to look into that access panel. How does that? Can you kind of maybe go into a little more detail on how that could be installed at a facility where you don't have any? How does that tie into everything?
So it functions just like any other access camera. They have two versions. They got the 8105E, and then I think it's the 8207VE, which is vandal resistant with a keypad. It's typical access, right? They're nice products. They're solid. They do what they do. And then as far as programming it or accessing it, all your terminal blocks are on the back of the door station. So you have 4 contacts on there that you can program however you want. And it does have SIP support, so you can do it either with the cloud or a local SIP server. And I mean, they're pretty streamlined. If you wanted to use their app and you don't have like access to, let's say, Mason, like an OpenEye, then you'd have to run their software on a server somewhere. And I say server, it could just be PC based. It's not very taxing on anything. It's not a heavily resource application by any means. But then you have to open up the ports, of course, and use their app with it. But a lot of the time, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I've set them up typically in about a half hour. And if I bench tested or bench loaded at the shop, I can probably do it in about 15 minutes. And the camera quality is phenomenal. And it's small. It's less than 2 inches wide.
Do they can it do RFID, or is it strictly intercom?
It's that one's strictly intercom. There's no card reader or card access on it.
Okay. And basically how that then ties in is through SIP. Is that the only way that's going to be able to be tied in?
That one does SIP, and then the 8004, which is the bigger one, does SIP support, and I think it has iPhone integration in a sense as well, if I remember right.
Okay, gotcha.
But that may be part of that software that needs to be put on there with what they call their door station.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, the first intercom system we did was a GeoVision, and holy cow, that is awful.
It is. I actually installed 2 of those in Nashville, and they break constantly. I'm always going back out to fix them. The mobile app is terrible. The software is terrible. Everything's terrible about it.
We have one at our shop here, and it just stopped working one day. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to worry about fixing it. And then maybe about a month and a half later, it just started working. I was like, oh, cool, we got our access control system back.
That's what it does best. It stops working.
I'll tell you guys this much: I like the access door station so much that I just got a second one for our side door now, and I just ordered that because I'm like, well, I like to test new things out, right? But I also don't want to have something that I'm going to have a customer walk up and ring the bell and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, ugh, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, I've actually installed the Axis. It wasn't an A phone. It was this Axis door station. It actually worked pretty well because it's simple. It's PoE powered. Use SIP, and it's a relay on the back, and it's pretty easy to install. Yep. So,
absolutely,
yeah, it's pretty cool. So for commercial, you're not doing any like alarm.com stuff, Marco?
Commercial, I wouldn't. No, I would say no. I was going to try to. Yeah. Soften the blow on that one, but no.
Yeah, I got you. And then so residential for Ring and Nest, do they integrate with any access control stuff at all?
Not well. I think Ring will do it within their own app.
Yeah.
I know I keep pulling customer stories into this, but they're real life experiences, right? So a friend of mine, we were at his house this week, and he's like, "Oh, he's showing me." His Ring application. He's like, "Oh, I got the floodlights everywhere and the doorbell." And I said, "That's cool." I said, "Well, what do you do with the cameras? Because we didn't do the cameras there." And he goes, "Oh, we'll have to jump into this other app." I go, "Okay."
Yeah.
I said, "What about your alarm. Oh, I got to go to this other app.
Yeah, other app.
I said, okay. I said, so do you like having multiple apps or would you rather have it on one? And he's like, oh, you can do that? So I think I may have just sold him on a new system. But,
Yeah.
that's what's tough. I mean, I know from my experience, I don't like having all different apps to do 50 different things. You want to be able to just navigate within the same platform, and you want, everything to be set up as a schedule or this or that. And that's key in residential, so we're Nest dealers, we're Ring dealers. I mean, we put them in, but it really depends on if the customer ever wants to do something new or something different that fully integrates. And, I mean, you could set up like with the Skybell, which is, the manufacturer for a handful of companies. Honeywell uses them and all that stuff. But with the alarm.com one, you can set it so that if there's motions picked up on that doorbell camera at like midnight, it can set off your outside lights because the lights are tied in Z-Wave to your alarm panel. So there's a lot of integration you can do within one application on the residential side that kind of blows people's minds because they don't know about it, right? I mean, alarm.com's pathway is their partners. So if the partner isn't familiar with everything you can do, it's almost like you've lost that relationship because they don't have any tie back to alarm.com because they're not selling the full product.
Right. Cool. Did anybody else have any other questions around commercial residential alarms? I know that. Go ahead.
I just want to throw in something. I am trying to figure out how I can start doing that the alarm.com stuff that the Marco's been talking about. My biggest issue is one of the businesses that gives us, I would say, 60% of our work sometimes, depending on the time of year, maybe even 70, is like the biggest alarm installer in this area. And so it's like, how do you start that conversation up? Like, hey, so we want to do this thing. And, the guy that owns that, he's going to retire in the next few years here. And so he doesn't want to change anything. He wouldn't want to mix anything up. So that's another thing that I'm trying to figure out how to go down that path, because I hate going to customers' homes and being start to say, okay, hey, let's do you're building a new house. We're going to put in a Nest doorbell, Ubiquity camera system for everything else. You'll have 2 different apps for it. And then, oh, hey, we're going to put in the Nest thermostat too, or we're going to do this or that. And then, the customer ends up having 3 different apps on their phone. And I don't want to do a Control 4 system because that stuff is always breaking. And I don't really want to go down that path on anyone else's. But it's that I think that alarm.com strikes that nice balance of you're not going to be a Control 4 dealer where that kind of has to become your life in a lot of ways, or like a totally different side of your business. But it's just better for the customer. So I'm just going to try to figure out how to start integrating that, because I think that's great.
Wait, so why is it a problem to start using alarm.com? Because of your...
Yeah, because with the alarm.com, I like how that would integrate, but then that would also start integrating the alarm panel, I would assume. So
do you know what they use now, Mason?
They're using Honeywell Lyric systems.
Service calls galore.
Yeah, you make a lot of money on service calls.
Yeah,
I know you can charge them.
First-hand experience.
I'll get phone calls like, "Oh, hey, our alarm panel is not connecting to your Wi-Fi anymore."
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not really my problem. Obviously, your Wi-Fi has like 50 different things on it, so the Wi-Fi is fine.
It is your problem, Mason. You got to make it work.
I don't put the alarm panels in. So,
yeah.
I mean, just my opinion on it. I know you're saying you kind of don't want to step on toes. I would get on board with alarm.com, become a dealer, and then maybe present it to them and say, hey, what are you guys using? Even though you really know that they're doing the Honeywell stuff, and say, well, are you guys opposed to me trying to use this system because it integrates so much more incumbently across the residential platform? Because you got to remember, if you're doing a Honeywell system, then you got to buy the Honeywell thermostats, you got to buy the Honeywell accessories that are compatible with the platform. And then if the customer decides they want to get rid of the Honeywell system, 9 times out of 10, those thermostats and other devices are not going to be, they may be compatible only if they're Z-Wave, but if it's Honeywell's platform, it's not going to be compatible with anything else. It's kind of like when we come across DSC panels or like old Concord panels, you know, they don't do other things. So that may be an avenue you can kind of tread lightly on with this other company and just kind of present it to them in like maybe like an automation sense, and say, hey, if you guys are just doing the alarms, maybe we can work and do, you know, a full package, and then maybe you give them like a cut or something in a sense.
Yeah, and I need to bring that up. The other thing is, like, with that guy retiring in 2 years, I've tried to like get lunch with him. It's the funny thing with him. It's like he'll send me an email about every 2 emails a week with like, oh, here's another lead for you. Here's another lead for you, and they're great leads. And then I'm like, hey, you want to grab lunch next week? Just crickets. It's like, what is this? I don't understand what's happening. So got off a little off topic there a little bit, but yeah, I'm gonna bring it up to him. See, I'll keep you guys posted.
Cool. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I know that John, you were interested in intercom stuff. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to it, or any questions?
Yeah, I mean, basically, my experience has been with like large scale airports and more than 10 years ago, and so I kind of wanted to brush up on what's current. You know, my experience has been with master station, and then stations at the at the doors, and essentially the systems, they kind of, I guess they acted like an audio CCTV, you know, audio switching system, and I don't. Back then, I guess it was a Stentaphone product called AlphaCom that I used a lot, and I just wanted to know what people use for large scale commercial intercom systems now, and that was mostly why I was.
Yeah, I mean, maybe reaching out to like Alan at CTS. I think they do a lot of stuff like that. They might have some more larger commercial stuff that they've done. Give you some insight.
John, are you thinking like airports and whatnot, like large scale like that, docks kind of deal, where you would be coming in from the tarmac and they need security on that sense to get back to a security desk?
Yeah, well, back I guess one of the jobs I did was I don't want to stay around for, oh gosh, I'm dating myself here, but it was around like 2000 time frame, and we did the intercom system at O'Hare in Midway, and every door that led out into the tarmac had an AlphaCom, excuse me, a Stenophone call box at the door, and so you could, the person there could say, "Hey, why doesn't my card work?" Or I remember one night we were working on the system, the access control system part, and some American Airlines flight attendant was trying to get out, and her card wasn't going to work because we're working on the access control system. When we saw her on the video and walking away from the door, and we called out her name to say, Mrs. Whatever, can you go to a different door? And she was totally freaked out. It was funny. But yeah, I wanted to know what's prevalent in large systems now, and is that even a priority for for a large commercial system? I mean, I rarely see them outside of port authorities and government.
Right. With in regards to large scale, I mean, we've done, I would say, probably maximum of like 30 of the A-phone systems. Their IP, which I think is the IX series, and I'm actually trying to find right now what the limitation is on it, but from what I recall, I think it was almost up to 1,000 units they could do over network, IP, and it would call wherever, or it could call through their software as well. Because I see them a lot. There's a bunch in in Newark Airport as well that they use a phone, their vandal-proof panels with the video camera in it as well.
Would you consider like the campus emergency call stations, the blue lights on college campuses to under that would you consider that as a same category system?
I would consider the blue light, the call stations more of a duress system. Like we're a talkaphone dealer as well, and we've done a bunch of those as well. But I think you can use them that way. They do make a system that way, which you may or not know about. We do a lot of it for, like you're saying, like colleges and stuff like that, because of the integration it can go in with, like, a Mitel or a Genetech or a Milestone. They all integrate with talkaphone very well. But as far as something on the intercom side, I would say it's probably a phone first and then talkaphone. Again, it's going to be dependent on what kind of systems they have, because a lot of the PBX systems for anything large like a port authority or an airport, they don't always have, well, most of them probably aren't SIP. They're probably either Cisco or Avaya. So that's going to be a feature that's got to be tied in as well. So yeah, that's a good point too. The talkaphone is a big one, or the blue light call stations are big. Mass notification and whatnot.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Mason, did you have something?
Yeah. Oh,
okay, go ahead.
No, I didn't. Well, I was kind of going to bring it up, but I didn't know if it was the appropriate time. Marco, have you ever used the Valcom system for paging?
Yes.
Do you like it? What's your thoughts on it?
It's kind of reminds me of Viking paging when we first started out with AT&T. That's who was doing all of their between Viking and Bogan, they were really doing their paging systems. And from everything that we've always had, they're bulletproof. So Valcom, I think I would say, is probably like second in command. They may be a little bit better now, or rated better. They're nice. You got cyber data too. Not to get off topic, but it's a system, right? It's paging, it's intercom. A lot of the stuff, whether it's schools or garages or colleges, a lot of them want talkback features. So being able to have that and have something reliable is big. But we do, I wouldn't say a bunch of Valcom, generally because it depends on the budget, but I know them very well, and I have done a handful of them, and I do like the product.
We hung speakers for a warehouse, and I spent an entire week, 4 pallets of those stupid speakers, just hanging them, and it's like just had that drilled into my memory. This is the paging product. So I was just wondering what you thought about it. It seemed fairly bulletproof to me as well, and I reached out to them, and their design team seemed pretty good about figuring out exactly what we needed for the project and recommending different parts for different price points. So it's cool.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of things now too with like mass notification systems. We have a customer in Manhattan that actually Harlem, that they have a dance institute, and kids come after school or whatnot, and they were having an issue where their old Cisco phones weren't loud enough, and then B, their two-way radios weren't working because the place was built with so much rebar and concrete that their own two-way radios weren't working in the building. So we were going to do an emergency call or a mass notification system, and we had to do it or design it based on different rooms having different volume levels because of the fact that it's a dance institute, and they could have extremely loud music going on, no music, or very soft classical kind of music. And this particular system would adapt based on the ambient noise in the room. So you come across that kind of stuff too, which is people don't think, that this stuff is available.
Yeah, in Valcom, because we were doing a paging system for I thought we were going to do one. They ended up not wanting it for a truck repair center, semi trucks and trailer repair. And I was talking to them. I said, can we split this into different zones? Because one guy might be like riveting and another guy might be grinding, and they might be on two separate sides. So the idea is we were going to sprinkle like 16 different microphones around the shop, and it's a fairly large shop to do that. I think they had like 24 bays or something like that, and that way we could take kind of this zone, it's gonna go to this volume, this zone's gonna be at this volume, based on the decibel level. So yeah, that stuff's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, and with technology, you wouldn't really have this stuff, right? Because a lot of it, the back end of it's all data. It's got to be able to pass this data through. So it's interesting.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Let's I think we're done with intercoms unless anybody else has any other
exciting stuff.
It is. I mean, for me, it is. I'm learning a lot for sure. Yeah, it's cool, man. I like it. But we do have to move on to the next kind of second half. I wanted to bring this up. I thought this was great that Hoosier Sparky, so Steve Van Horn, he had an idea of reposting Instagram pictures on the LVN site, and just maybe even doing that to other sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. But I wanted to get kind of permission from the ambassadors to see if it would be okay for me to select some and showcase some of your work and repost it on the LVN Instagram page. And Steve, are you still there? You still on the call?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So that's kind of what your thought was for that, wasn't it? Just kind of reposting stuff and showcasing like the gold standard.
Yeah, I mean, there's a wide variety of, I don't know, we want to say fields in the low voltage community that we have here, and ambassadors or anyone else, to where it's not just, you're getting stuck trying to come up with something by yourself. Like, I mean, you might not do something and someone else does. So why don't we showcase the whole, low voltage? Because I think a lot of times people might think of it as just like a bunch of IT dudes. I don't know if there's that much awareness for low voltage, and especially getting a better audience. Because I know for me, like dealing with electrical stuff, there's a lot of people that know and understand, the Sparky side, electrical, residential, commercial, and stuff like that, and I can get a lot of engagement. But when it comes to low voltage, I don't think there's that much there. So if we can get, the LVN page up and running pretty good, and just being able to force tons of content and all kinds of different content that people would be interested in, then that's a way to then have a avenue for all these other individual businesses to get people to their page. So it's kind of like planting a seed and watering it and letting it grow and then harvesting it type of thing.
It's a brilliant idea, in my opinion. And most of the people on the ambassador team do stuff better than me. Like, I'm posting stuff like holding scissors wrong. Like that's my content. I need some help, like, because I'm not like really big on this stuff. I've only been in low voltage for about 3 years, and that's kind of not even doing the heavy duty stuff. Like, I'm not like Mason and Marco and John Laurie, and you, Steve. So it's a great idea, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. I mean, you got, you could just, for, a page worth of things, commercial and residential for, what we're talking about, intercoms, and you got commercial residential for fire or burglary, intrusion, access, networking, cabling, IP, cloud, there's just so much stuff on the low voltage side that I don't think a lot of people like, hey, I'm actually be interested in that, because I thought low voltage was just knowing a bunch of computer stuff, IT stuff.
Yeah.
To where it's like, no, you're actually dealing with, running running wire, voltage, you know, modules, this and that. I don't know. So
that's great, man.
On the Instagram, what are the wherever it's called, where they got like the little, Marco has it on his little circles, and you can tap on them to like view different categories of like stories that you've had or posts.
They're called highlights.
Highlights. So yeah, and maybe having the various highlights of like structured cabling and access control from, you know, the ambassadors and stuff of that nature. Oh yeah, like you. Hey, look you're doing it already. Wow.
Yeah, it hasn't been updated in a while, but I'll definitely kind of curate that a little bit more. I just put that on there to make it look pretty.
See how much I'm paying attention.
Yeah, Mason.
Yeah, and I think someone had commented on that post talking about you know, kind of sharing more stuff of what everyone else does, and they were talking about having, you know, someone kind of take over Low Voltage Nation for a day or something.
Oh yeah. That was,
you know,
I think it was Josh. Yeah.
You know, if the, you know, time and schedule and jobs allow, like that would be probably something that would be pretty interesting with, like, you know, a day in the life, you know, kind of like a ride along type of thing.
Yeah. I'm just going to start doing that. If anybody has any objections, just kind of reach out to me, I guess, in a DM and say, hey, don't post my content. But if not, I'm just going to go ahead and start rolling with that, if that's cool with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to have a problem with it.
Cool.
if you do, probably shouldn't be on Instagram.
Sweet. All right. Next order of business. There was a lot of interest in LinkedIn, and I've been promoting it quite a bit. And then some folks have also put themselves as employees or brand ambassadors of LinkedIn on the Low Voltage Nation company page. But I wanted just to kind of touch base because I think it was Josh and maybe Brandon. There's a couple people from the last meeting that wanted some guidance on that. So let's see here. Again, Marco, Steve. So let's see, Pierce. So Pierce, you put it on there as well, I think. That's
I just added it.
Okay, cool, man. Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, we got some people in the game. So I really appreciate that. And if you have any questions on how to do that, I do have this document. Just real basic. Just here's how you become an all-star. It's called an all-star status on LinkedIn. Basically, just fill out as much content as possible. And then kind of towards the end of it, you want to reach out and get some recommendations. So if you want a recommendation, I'll leave you one and you can kind of reciprocate that. But it's a real good way to kind of get some social proof and build your business profile and do some B2B, B2C, you know, transactions and interactions with people. So LinkedIn's really good for that. I've had a lot of good engagement recently. So this document is in the agenda. If you have any questions about it or want to get on a phone call with me or chat with me, just let me know. But if you want to, go ahead and do the same thing that the other folks have done, the ambassadors, and just make yourself an ambassador of Low Voltage Nation, and that'll be great. Any questions on that? All right, cool. Let's move on to the next item. And so we've been doing these kind of weekly podcasts, and it started out with cameras with BIT. So Mason and I think we've done 3 so far, but we're talking about cameras. Yeah, and they're really fun. But we're going to run. Last night was a 2-hour epic. You know, the pregame was an hour long, and it was unpublishable content, but we had a good time.
We had a great time.
But we also had an OpenEye demo, and that's on YouTube now. That's an hour and 30. Wow, I didn't realize it was that long. But we had a person from OpenEye come on and do a demo of it, and I think it was Marco, Mason, and John were on the call as well. So we're kind of doing these weekly calls where we either bring in a vendor to talk about stuff or just talk about cameras. But we're going to run out of content eventually, I would imagine, on the camera side. So I don't know what you think about this, Mason, but maybe make it into like a weekly kind of LBN ambassador podcast, or bring in more vendors or something. So we're doing this weekly stuff, and if you have any ideas or want to get involved in that, just let me know and I'll send you an invite. But as it stands right now, it's on a Saturday night. Saturday night, 7:30. 7:30 on a Saturday. Yeah. So that's always an option.
Way to kill everyone's weekend.
So yeah, I got some new on Saturday, now Sunday, and soon we're gonna start pulling in on Monday. It's like, all right,
it's
I'm
important.
Working for Blake.
It's important. No, we're helping each other. All right. So
we're gonna need sponsorship, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Eventually.
From that, I had OpenEye. One of the marketing executives from OpenEye emailed me asking questions about just what we're doing. So I think that could be you can maybe go like with an OpenEye sponsorship, which would be absolutely hilarious.
It would be. Wait, yeah. Why would that be hilarious?
I don't know. It's kind of funny how this is all grown. It's funny, but in a good way. It's like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. It's interesting for sure. And we're having a good time doing it. That's all that matters.
Great time.
There's also the What Would Marco Do podcast. We're kind of just bouncing some ideas around that, talking about like the gold standard. That's a big thing we're pushing now. So gold standard is, how would the ambassador team and the Instagram community do stuff correctly, or what we think is correctly? Like, what is the cream of the crop of how to install certain products and go about it. So that's another one we're kind of kicking around as well. So pretty cool stuff. All right, now we're in the goal setting and review phase. So 3 podcasts for me. I think I only did 2 this week, but I did 5 last week, so that kind of balances it out. I actually have a pretty big backlog, and I have some more to publish tonight. So we got that coming up. Marco, what? You completed some of your goals, but you weren't on the call from last week.
Right.
What's your status for this week? What are your goals for this week?
We've been doing. I typically was doing 1 meeting a week with the team, and I've since changed that to 2, just because we're not all over the place, but we have different teams doing multiple jobs. Thankfully that we have that work that we have to do that. And I'm just trying to be still trying to be efficient. Some guys just are not, I hate to say not listening, but they're just not following through with things. I typically set goals, or my operations team will set a goal for them, say, hey, we need this much done today at this job. And that's it. And, we don't set unrealistic ones. So it's still a goal process, I think, every week, but as well as we're trying to ask everybody, like, hey, what kind of problems did you come across this week? Is there anything that you guys wish you knew more of on this topic? So kind of just trying to keep everyone educated and progressing forward, because I think the statement knowledge is power is big. So if everybody is hungry and they really have that drive to learn, then that's you can really be unstoppable that way.
Cool. All right. So more meetings and get more efficient and get on the same page. Sounds pretty reasonable. Cool.
And more education. Absolutely.
Yep. Mark Salent is not on the call. He has kid watching duty today. That's good times, but he's been doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, which is pretty cool. He posted some content today, just kind of asking questions, engaging with people, getting some good feedback. So that's good that he's doing that. And one thing that he also does is, we were talking about this, he does a lot of Google My Business stuff. That's where he gets a lot of his leads from. So if you're not using Google My Business and you don't have you haven't claimed your space or your page, definitely get on that. That's huge. If you're a business owner or if you're in marketing, definitely get on Google My Business. That's a really big way to generate leads and get more exposure. He mentioned that his goal for this week is to finish organizing his van. So whatever we could do to help him, send him pictures or pointers or give him some motivation to organize that van. I know that's very important, because digging through a van is a pain in the ass, as well as wasting time and going back and forth. Mason, haven't really checked in with you in a while. It seems like you were doing some website stuff, and then what's going on with that?
Yeah, so working on a website with kind of a friend from a business, and it's coming along. We had kind of a come to Jesus meeting, It was yeah, it's coming along. So nothing pretty much it all came to a standstill. I got an email that was basically stating I can't do how you're wanting me to do it. I feel defeated and I don't know what to do. And I just read that email and it's like, that's probably not the way you should talk to a customer. I feel like I'm defeated. I don't know what to do. Pity me. So I said, what? Said, well, I appreciate the communication, but I need a solution here. So she says, well, I can do it on this and this and this. So she's working on it. Yeah, she's done really good work for me before. So I guess we'll see how this turns out. But so far, I think we're 3 months in and still no website.
So I guess for blakeermis.org, and I use just a basic WordPress theme. I built this website in, I don't know, an hour maybe, and same with globalnation.com. Like, I don't know what the holdup is.
Yeah, it's not that I can't do it. I mean, I've built like the websites that I've had before. It's just that I like that I can show her and say, hey, this is what I want, and I've traded some work for it. I went and I ran a new power, new 10 gauge wire for an air conditioning unit for them. Took me most of the day because there's a lot of stuff in the way that they didn't clean out for me, but I got it done. And so basically we just traded that for the website, and I thought that was a really great trade. So that's why. The other thing is, like, I've worked on doing the website by myself, and it ends up taking me, a weekend before I get to like a happy template that I like and kind of get it working the way I want it to. So I don't know. I just didn't want to put the time into it, and I spent one day and did work, and I should get a website out of that one day work, and I thought that was a nice trade. So
yeah, I agree. So what is your goal for this week, Mason?
Yeah, that took a while. Goal for this week is to get to a nice point on the calendar for this Cat 6A project I was talking to Marco about. So we want to get all the wire pulled tomorrow, finish the wire, and then pretty much have it wrapped up and ready to start certifying by Friday. So don't know if that's going to happen, but we're going to try.
All right. Well, you've got our support. You can do it.
I will be sleeping on Sunday.
Yeah, I got you.
I'll be back on Sunday.
You better be. At least Saturday, man. We got a busy night on Saturday.
Oh shit.
Date night.
Yeah, right. So Will Hoffman. I don't think Will's on the call right now. He's been he's been delinquent. We have to follow up with that young man.
He's working at his brother's house today.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I know that he's made a lot of progress with his Hoffman integration stuff. Posting a lot of content. He always has really good content on both of his Instagram accounts, and getting into Adobe Premiere Pro. So I've been talking with him, doing some video editing stuff, and it's been coming along quite a bit for him. So that's cool. What's Kramer up to? Have y'all? I haven't heard from Kramer like all week. I don't think. I can't remember.
What's going on, Kramer?
I spoke to him in the middle of the week. I know he was working on his house in North Carolina, but
yeah, he's back there today.
Yeah, he's been busy, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right, John. What did you meet your Aperio wireless locks goal from last week?
Almost.
You said, almost. Okay, you're getting there.
Getting there. I think I have them. I have the hubs reporting. And given their model numbers, but but not much else yet. So that's the goal for this week. Also hoping to get enough done so I can spend a day at ISC East in New York. Is anybody else going to ISC East this week?
I'll be there Wednesday, John. It's Marco.
Cool. Yeah, me too.
I'll probably go over by Brevo and Eagle Eye. I'll hit those guys up. Spoke to them earlier. So we will be there.
All right. Yeah, I'll be there Wednesday too. Let's see. In other news, I was successful in itemizing up all of the stuff that's on my plate. so I know what to do next. And also after you had called me, Blake, about the Mercury LP 1501, I realized what a mess my pile of 7 different access control panel types were. So I managed to get everything squared away, and now my office kind of looks like this, and sent it on the ambassadors, and hopefully it's coming through. And
oh yeah, look at that.
So everything's boxed and nicely. I got my gauge locks. The Apereo locks are on the other side of the office, but
yeah.
But now when you call, I just go up to the top of my scaffolding there and pick out whatever panel you need.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll probably be calling you this week sometime. Freaking out. Hey, we got that Mercury panel working. We had to downgrade the firmware, and it worked.
Oh, you know what? Now that because there is there's an emulation mode. You know, now that I'm just calling it now, it's like to make it look like a EP 1501, to turn it from an L to an A. Should have, but that would have worked too.
It did. I mean, I was on the phone for a solid 2 hours, I think, with Honeywell alone. I wasn't including your call. That was a fun day. It's every day for me at this point. Cool.
I wish there could have been more help.
You get me to like a point where like I feel confident like to make another phone call.
Okay.
It's good, man. All right, cool deal. Pierce, what's your status, man? How's that website coming? I put you on mute too. I think there's noise coming from you. Might want to unmute yourself, Pierce. Unmute yourself, Pierce. Yeah, I think I jacked him up. Dang it. Can you hear me, Pierce's
goal is to unmute himself.
Yeah, right. Sorry, Pierce. Text it in the Slack channel. I think I jacked his thing up by muting him. All right, moving on. We're way over right now, by the way. Sorry. CTS. Has anybody heard from? Pierce said, "Damn you, Blake." Slack. I haven't heard from Alan or Lauren from CTS. I'm not sure what their status is.
I hope that's a strong 2020 goal that they got going on. They've been a busy 2 weeks, man.
Yeah. I see Alan just kind of liking stuff on my Instagram, and that's about it. And then Lauren hasn't really done much on the CTS Instagram, so I'll reach out to them and kind of check in, see how they're doing. Pierce, just unmute the phone, bro.
Pierce he's so mad that you muted him, and he can't get out of mute zone.
I did.
And you can unmute him on your end, Blake?
No, because there's a bunch of freaking noise, so I had to mute him. Like, how do I do this?
Click the mic button again, see if it changes anything.
Yeah.
How about up right next to the pin?
Right next to the pin? Right
no,
here?
Down. Back over his phone number.
Yeah, right here.
No, up to the right.
Oh shit.
That one.
Nah, it's inactive.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What a bummer. What the heck, Google?
I don't know, man. It's can't be perfect, Marco.
Can't unmute someone else.
Okay. All right, moving on. Uncle Bear.
just forget about Pierce. So moving on.
He says fuck it, here's my summary. No F-bombs in the Slack. Only DMs. No F-bombs, Pierce.
We're gonna have to write him up.
You're getting a point.
I had to DM Mark Nagao from Cisco. I was like, hey man, I had to delete your photo. No F-bombs. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
I did not see it.
It was some silly photo he put in there. I deleted it. Okay, Uncle Bear's not on the call. Did he get a logo to you, Marco?
Yes, he gave me one. It was a JPEG, so I gotta try to see if I can clear out the background on it. But we'll make it. I'll make it work.
Okay, you'll make it work. Okay, that's good. Let's put Pierce's. Wait, I hear something. What was that? Website bros. What?
That was First Point Com. He shot a message over.
Oh,
in the meet, yeah. Yep.
You got to get in that Slack, Mick. I'm checking too many. Got to take kids to school. Goal. It says goal to finish 2 installs I've done for friends. Awesome. Alarm and Ubiquity. Cool. All right.
He's got some cool stuff going on, huh? I look at his videos all the time.
He does. Yeah, he's posting all the time. Yeah, it's good stuff. All the way in Melbourne, Australia, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. Kind of struggling right now, doing too many things at once. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, so you got Uncle Bear, and then Raymond. Raymond's not on the call, but he wanted some LinkedIn stuff, so I need to follow up with him. I feel like to follow up. So. What are you laughing at, Mason?
Oh, just the Pierce, what he just said.
Oh.
Mike, no progress.
You know what? Hey, Mason, Pierce, if you're still listening, you got to jump on onto the cloud backup, man. It's the only way they're gonna find.
The hackers got him. He joined the domain, and it took his mic out.
Joined the domain. Oh man!
Now they're asking for 21 million.
10 Bitcoin.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, Jacob. I don't think Jacob's on the call either, but he wanted a LinkedIn consultation. I'll follow up with him. Oh, and then we got Brandon's. He's on the phone call. You still there, Brandon?
Yep.
Oh heck yeah, man! Hey Brandon, thanks for like all the engagement. Like you're like, kind of cream of the crop at this point with all the DMs and all the stuff on Slack. So I really appreciate that, man.
No problem.
So let's talk about your goals, man.
Yeah, so I need to find time to reach out to Cables and Connections because there is a local supplier in Rochester with vertical cable and all that, but their selection is just trash. I needed Cat 6A patch cables, and they go, yeah, we haven't had those in 3 months. They're back ordered with vertical cable. We'll get them at some point. I need the iPunch tool completely out of them. All they had was jacks for me.
Okay.
So
hey Brandon,
yeah,
give a shout to Theron at Cables and Connections. Like you're saying, I got a whole bunch of stuff. The thin patch cables and whatnot for a job. I think I got like 1,500 of them. So I don't know what kind of magic he did, but we needed a whole boatload of them like 2 weeks ago. So he may be able to get them from another manufacturer.
Yeah, no, I got to reach out down there. ADI has nothing in Rochester when it comes to patch cables or anything really on the networking side. So it's always just been mono price or bending over backwards and going to Gray Bar and just paying out the butt for it. So
yeah,
the vertical cable stuff so far from what I've seen seems very impressive. And we were a mono price shop for a long time. Redid my whole office with mono price jacks and everything. Half the jacks don't even work. So mono price has like gone into the dumpster with their quality of their jacks and cables and everything.
Yeah,
how much were you paying for mono price keystones?
I think $1.25 a keystone. So I mean, well under what I pay for like ICCs and stuff like that. But I did a 100 drop job with mono price and haven't had an issue in 10 years.
Yeah,
and it's just gone down in the dumpster with them. I don't know what the heck they're doing. I mean, they sell everything except the kitchen sink now, so maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
because they're just in so many different product verticals now. But yeah, I'm going to reach out to them and see if we can get an account going with them. And then for the website, same boat as everybody else. We have a partner company in town that did our like main main website for the main store, and right now what we're trying to do is separate the residential side of the business and the retail store and the actual business-to-business IT side. And they just did such a garbage job with the store side of the website that I just am not going down that road with them and having them do a new website for me. So I got to figure out the best place to go to for that. Just everybody in town wants 10 grand minimum to start a website. So
oh my gosh, that's
Wow.
that's not necessary. I mean, are you doing like an e-commerce site or like integrations or anything, or is this
no,
like
no, there's
information?
just information. There's
Yeah,
a larger
no.
company in town that literally they will not talk to people unless it's 10 grand or more. I have a medical supply store that we share the building with, and the company there with charges them $750 a month
Oh my
for their
God.
website. Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody's doing
brutal.
websites, there's definitely a great market in Rochester
That's funny.
because everybody is just charging out the butt for this stuff.
Marco, how much do you pay for Wix?
I think it's $50 a month, and I teamed up with a friend of mine to get it done because, kind of like what everyone else is saying, I just didn't have the time for it. And then he
I
did
hear
the
you.
basic, and I constantly tweak it, because I got problems.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been looking at Squarespace. I just gotta find the time to do it. I mean, I'm so busy at work, and then I have a 3.5-year-old and an 8-month-old at home, so there's no time to ever do anything.
I don't recommend Squarespace for what you're
I don't
doing.
either.
It's a great
Okay.
product for creatives like photographers and and creative people, but for
Yeah,
what we do, I recommend either Wix or WordPress just to get it up and running quickly and cheaply.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon, about the jacks, vertical. I don't know what everyone else is getting their jacks for, but I get mine for $1.58 from Vertical.
Okay.
So I've been pretty happy with them. We what were the other ones we were using? Cables Matters off Amazon, pretty much
Yep.
garbage.
Yep.
So we did we tested those with our Fluke certifier, and they barely passed, and the vertical ones passed with flying colors. So and we know it wasn't just like a bad one from Cables Matter because we tested multiple different like sites just to see if it was just one, and they all just are like the hairline. I think it was 0.5 dBm that they were with intolerance of. So we don't use those anymore. The vertical ones work a whole lot better. The Ortronics ones on ADI are also pretty good. They're a little bit better with near and crosstalk, but they run about $3 a jack. So
yeah, we were using ICC from ADI, and I mean those are $75 for 25.
Yeah.
So
it's a good product. I would say a quality Chinese product. We call it what it is, right?
Well, what is it at ADI that's not a Chinese product?
Especially now. They got rid of now that they sold from Honeywell, they're doing a whole bunch of changes. We're very close with our branch here, so we get a lot of the real scoop, as they say.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird too in our market. So there's two brothers, and one is the manager at ADI. The other one is the manager at that other supply store that sells vertical cable. So it's a very weird world that we're in with those guys, because we actually have a camera job quoting right now, and they're fighting each other to get the quote from us and fighting each other to give the best price. And I mean, yeah, it's a unique situation.
For wire, Windy City Wire. I mean, and Marco will back me up on this. It's just the best. It's like that stuff is so nice compared to anything else, especially from Vertical, in my opinion, and Marco's opinion, I would imagine.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we used the Genesis wire from ADI for the longest time, but
and Pierce.
Yeah.
The problem with those Genesis boxes is if you drop it the wrong way, they start doing the clickety clackety because the side supports bend in and hit the reel. So you're trying to pull those 100, 125 feet. It really is a pain in the butt after a while.
Well, what's even better, Brandon, is when they get wet, the boxes just disintegrate, and the whole thing, you have a whole spaghetti full of, 900 feet left, because that's when it happens.
So the funny thing about that is we did a farm my mother works for, and it's a giant cold storage warehouse where they actually like put apples to sleep. And in the summertime, like there's so much condensation in there. One of the Spanish just took all of our boxes and basically threw it in a puddle one night. We came back the next day, and every single box was completely disintegrated. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun.
What we used to do is when we were buying Genesis, when we had damaged boxes, whether it was reels or whatnot, I'd take it to Windy City and have them rebox it for me. That only lasted so long.
Yeah, and then the next thing is, Marco, you specifically have inspired me to start getting more apparel for the business, and just trying to find the best places to go to. I mean, I did it quickly on Friday, like towards the end of the day, looking at like LL Bean and places like that. But
Sport Tech, I love Sport Tech. I just want to jump in there. I love Sport Tech. Their stuff feels so good, and then depending on what your company color is, you can get like multicolor stuff. We have a bunch of Sport Tech stuff here. It's great.
Yeah. No, it's good to know.
Sport Authority too. They're all quality, but cost effective, as I say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then the other thing is, after hearing all the podcasts about OpenEye and all that, we were FLIR Security for a while, and then as I don't know if you guys know, that company just like blew up out of nowhere and just completely disintegrated. I literally went out to try to I needed to download the desktop app one day, and the website like was barely working. I'm like, what's going on here? And go to ADI, they go, yeah, they blew up the company up. That's long story short, they completely blew the company up. And it's in a weird situation now. Like, I had to call, Dowa is now just tech support for FLIR. So I called them one day because the iOS app doesn't work. And the tech goes, okay, delete the app, reinstall the app, and then it'll work. Mind-bogglingly, that actually worked. Deleting the FLIR Cloud app from my phone, putting it back on, then it takes that handshake key with no problem. But if you don't delete it, it will not take the handshake key and will not add a new device. So I need something a heck of a lot more reliable than that. Because, I mean, we had 6-7 FLIR deployments out there, and it's kind of hard to support them now when you can't even get the software to work outside of the business. I mean, it works fine if you're inside. You can add devices with the IP address, but that handshake does not work unless you delete the app, reinstall it on your phone, and the FLIR Cloud desktop app is gone completely. It doesn't work at all anymore. You have to use the Dowa app to connect with the NVR.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so I've definitely got to reach out to OpenEye and learn more about that. I mean, like I was telling, we were talking about the other day, one of my partner companies, he thought that it was all cloud storage, not local storage, and Mason cleared that up for me. So definitely want to look into it a lot more.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's cloud is basically the user management and the video clip storage. Everything else is like everything that'd be stored locally, like the videos and whatnot from the cameras. It's all stored locally, and then you can just upload very different like segments that you want to the cloud.
Right.
But really, the one way that we've sold it is just the user management and how you can manage all your different recorders from one interface is really nice. So if you delete one user, and let's say this company has like 6 locations, then it removes that user from all the locations. So that's where it's nice. You don't have to go, oh, hey, yeah, let me take 3 hours and drive to all your locations and remove all your users or VPN into all your locations and go through each one. Which we did that with Unify Video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, rough.
Yeah, you can also traverse into the camera interface,
which is great,
across multiple sites. Yeah, that's a big selling point for me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's good to know. I gotta check them out soon. And I mean, those machines that you spec'd out that you're using for, I mean, we have pallets upon pallets upon pallets of those at the warehouse. So definitely have NVRs that I can run them on.
Yeah, and that will work great. And the nice thing, if anything dies on that, I mean, obviously you have replacements and you just swap it out. It's good to go.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, absolutely. I got plenty of replacements.
So just keep in mind, if you do that, if you buy an OpenEye recorder, you don't have to pay for the Apex server software. But if you buy, and they just changed this year, which was kind of disappointing. It used to be you just buy camera license, so then the software was free to download, and you got 4 trial licenses with it. But as of now, you have to pay. It's $403, I think, for the Apex server license before you get any cameras. So just for the software alone, it's $403.
So should he reach out to, what is his name? Christensen?
Yeah, I sent him a message on Slack with his email already.
Yep, okay, I got that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yep, cool. All right, Brandon. Anything else on your agenda goals?
Not at this point in time. Let's see what next week brings.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just keep getting after it in the Slack channel. Let us know if we can help. So
sounds good.
Appreciate it, man. All right, Steve Van Horn. He's still there.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
I'm here.
Yeah. How did your week go? And did you meet your goals? And then what are your goals for this week?
Yeah. So my week goal was the getting my LinkedIn profile up, and so that's all up and running. And
sweet.
I think I'll probably go through it again, just maybe do some tweaking as far as like description and double checking grammar and spelling, all that good stuff. I've already made a bunch of connections with some of you guys, and then like a couple of people outside of Low Voltage Nation. That's pretty much it. I guess just keep on pursuing the LinkedIn, just trying to figure out how I can use that as an asset for me.
Yep.
And then my goal for this week, I've been trying to think of it, but because I do service, so I don't really have projects. I don't have things that I need to get done or research for. I mean, I'm pretty much just learning every day. But I think the one goal I'm going to try to reach is to this week have two really good customer service interactions. So, cool. I'm always out on calls and stuff like that, and just trying to, I guess, learn some ways to try to get a customer to be like, wow, you fix the problem and, their issue's gone, but to be like, wow, that was a really good experience, type of deal. Because back when I was doing electrical work, I really didn't have much interaction with the customer, probably like maybe 15% interaction with the customers. And so this is kind of all new territory for me. So
yeah, does the company incentivize you to do good with the customer, like get a review or something?
Yeah, they have this one program. It's called Make a Moment.
Okay, cool.
But how much that really gets done, and then just the customers too. I feel like you really have to make an impact because they're just, especially commercial side, customers are so busy. Usually when you show up, it's like, okay, here's the fire alarm panel, or here's this part. I'll see you later. Here's my phone number if you need anything. And then it's like trying to get a signature from them. It's like, just have the front desk person sign it. So there's not really much bonus or incentive. They kind of do, I guess, but I don't know. It's more so for me, just you never know, down the road I might break off, and whether crazy things happen and I start on my own, or I end up leaving the more big corporate for a more smaller business company to work for, just trying to sharpen my arsenal.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. Just a couple examples. Last week, there was this one structured cabling guy, and he was installing vertical cable stuff. So I was like, hey, oh yeah, vertical cable, I know them, yada yada yada. So I started telling him about Low Voltage Nation, and we were instant friends after that. He wants to get on the podcast. So just kind of interacting with those people just while you're on the job site, even if it's like a dog shit service call or whatever, there's always some opportunity to interact with somebody. Another opportunity that I had, it was a residential call. The guy, his monitor was broken, and that was it. He couldn't see his cameras. but he heard me talking to Windy City Wire on the phone about the podcast, and then he started asking me questions, and now he wants to hang out and do drone footage and get some photography stuff done. And he loves Low Voltage Nation. So just those two service calls that I thought were going to be crappy, they turned out to be really good interactions with people outside of work. So there's that.
Yeah, well, and it's also just like, when you go on these calls, you're trying to focus on the problem. It takes a lot of, brain power to try to, figure out what's going on. You're focused on that, you're in the zone. And to try to be able to like step back from that zone and be like, just having that kind of personable connection with the customer while you're also working type of thing.
Yep. Cool. I think that wraps it up. We're way over our time right now, which is fine because we had a really good meeting actually. Does anybody else have any announcements, questions, comments, concerns? Get your logo to Marco if you haven't already.
Yeah, sure. I think we'll talk about that this week too, because we got to button it up and get these bad boys out the door.
Yep. Wow. So that was an epic meeting, and it was actually really productive. And it was a great week, and I think next week, just it's gonna be just as good. Growing so much and learning so much. We're really making an impact. We got some really cool things coming down the pipeline. Podcasts, other things with Low Voltage Nation. So I really appreciate everybody contributing to the community and keeping it healthy and positive, and just doing really good work in the field. So with that being said, y'all keep getting after it, and we'll talk to you soon. So thank you.
Thanks, Blake.
Yep. Bye.
Yeah, have a good one.